This is the Shine On You Crazy Daisy podcast, and I'm your host, Trudy Simmons from the Daisy Chain Group, providing platforms for women entrepreneurs to be seen and heard. This platform is for women entrepreneurs that want to hear the real stories of what it takes to be yourself and run a business with all the different hats that you might have to wear. These are the stories of the tenacious, the rebellious, and the resilient women that are working towards the future that they want to build for themselves and their families. Hello and welcome to the Shine On You Crazy Daisy podcast and the Shine On You Crazy Daisy book volume 2. And today we are joined by the quite brilliant Ros Thompson from Remedies by Ros. Ros, thank you so much for being involved in this whole project. Please tell us about your business.
Thank you very much for having me, and it's lovely to be part of it. My business is Remedies by Ros, and I am a batch flower practitioner in it. And in essence, I use the 38 wonderful batch flower remedies to help ease the negative emotions and make people feel better and happier about themselves. Well, there we go.
What a mission to have in your life. The quite wonderful thing is that you were involved in the beginnings of coronavirus and getting PPE provisions out to people. But how was that time for you?
Tough.
Tough.
Probably the toughest time of my life. Mm-hmm. Being in the corporate world and involved in that, I took a phone call actually on one occasion from somebody who was waiting for a delivery of masks, and her words were, "I have no mask, where are my masks? I have people in here dying, and I have staff that won't go into the building because they don't want to die either." And I know people that have lost staff, and I know staff who died, and I know residents who died in the nursing homes and the care facilities. And yes, it was tough.
What was your actual role in all of that?
I was a sales manager.
Right.
But we weren't geared up to, as a rule, we didn't sell PPE, but we got PPE in for our clients because that was what they needed. And that was when face masks were something like £1 each.
Right.
Because that's what we could get them for. And trying to find antibacterial gel and all that sort of thing was just, so yeah, a nightmare, I have to say. I prayed to be furloughed then, and then when I was furloughed, it was like, now what am I going to do?
So that's what happened, is it? You got furloughed from that role?
Yep, I got furloughed from the role because I was the only person that was actually doing any business. And there were 10 of us, but because most of my clients were in the care sector, I was the only salesperson actually doing any business at the time. And we were selling thousands and thousands of pounds worth of stuff and struggling to get hold of it all. But of course, that couldn't support the company, so the company had to furlough the staff. All of our laptops and our telephones were all turned off completely. We weren't allowed to speak to anybody from work, and it was like that for 12 weeks. So we were incommunicado. So it was then a case of, well, okay, what's Ros Thompson going to do for a living now? What's she going to do to keep herself out of mischief? Because I'd never been without communication with my clients. And that was 38 years. I'd been in touch with my clients, even on holiday. Like, oh dear, now what?
So that literally was, you got furloughed, everything was shut down, and you went from having contact with people that you'd known for a very long time to nothing.
Nothing. No, absolutely nothing. April the 1st. I had 2 hours notice.
That's incredible.
So yes, it was a bit of a shock to the system.
So what made you then start up with your business?
Because I couldn't do anything else. I couldn't do any of the hands-on therapies that I'd done. I couldn't do reflexology. I couldn't do the Indian head massage, but I could use the remedies. And I thought, well, Zoom had come in. I mean, Zoom to me was one of those colourful lollies that we had in the 80s. And that was the only time I'd ever heard of Zoom. Nothing like that. It was more E numbers in this ice lolly than you knew what to do with. And I just thought, well, whatever Zoom might be, that was where the networking was going on. And I just thought, I've got to do it. And I was giving remedies away because people were in such dire straits. And I mean, I'd always had the link with the remedies and the Samaritans and crisis people and connections. And I had people coming to me who were suicidal because they had no businesses, directors of companies who weren't getting paid and couldn't support their families and were living in multi-million-pound houses and hadn't got a penny to do anything with. And it was a case of, well, I'm not going to charge you for the remedy, but when you've had the remedy, and the remedies obviously worked, and then they recommended me to others, and so it snowballed from there, and that's how it grew. And then with the networking as well, it didn't stop. I mean, it was, yeah.
You have been incredibly busy over this time.
Yeah, I have.
But through your business and being able to help people in the way that you can, you must hear a lot of people's trauma and the hard times that they're going through. How do you keep yourself going? Is that gin?
It's my remedies. When in doubt, yes. I'm very lucky because I was Reiki trained, so I am able to kind of put myself in a bubble and ground myself. But if I do have just stories that are traumatic, I have my rescue remedy that keeps me firmly on the floor. I've taken rescue remedy in the middle of a conversation with a client, and she's talking to me about, I mean, what can I talk to you about? I've got child abuse, sexual abuse. I've had narcissistic husbands. I think that's been the worst for me. It's been what's gone on in the households as a result of everybody having to live together, and how people have coped with that, and women living in quite serious situations. That's been the hardest, I think, really. And those people whose properties and businesses have all been in total jeopardy, and they haven't been able to handle it. The first lockdown was the worst. The last lockdown, people were still were able to kind of go back to work if they wanted to a point. The first lockdown was such a shock to people because nobody had ever told us we couldn't work. Even in the war, people didn't say you can't go to work. They said go to work if you can. Well, first of all, nobody's ever told the majority of the adults on this planet what to do apart from their parents, and then they didn't really listen. And all of a sudden we have a politician telling us, actually, you cannot do anything, you cannot go anywhere. It was really scary.
And it must have been a hell of an experience for you that to have been through the last 18 months, to have helped so many people, and at the same time you've been going through a massive change for yourself and with yourself, from going from a corporate role that you'd known forever to having your own business, which in itself is a massive leap of faith, and then having all these people come to you that need desperate help. What an incredible situation for the last 18 months.
Yeah, I think I thrive on the feel-good factor, because I mean, when I think of the feel-good stories that I've had back, I mean, it just gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. And people, I had a phone call from somebody yesterday, and meeting with somebody yesterday, and she said all she'd ever heard was how wonderful the remedies were and all the rest of it. And I just sat there and I thought, good, I'm just delighted, because that's what makes me happy, and that's what floats my boat. And yeah.
That's the wonderful thing, the incredible thing actually of this period of time, is that you have been successful in this time, and being able to get onto Zoom and speak to other practitioners around the world, and then realizing that a lot of people are struggling to get the word out there about these remedies and how they work and the effects that they can have. And I've had your remedies, and I've been using them for a while in Australia as well. They are incredible, and there is no, well, to me, it feels like there's no rhyme or reason as to how they work, but there's so much science behind it.
There is. And I mean, Dr. Batch was a homeopath, and that's where he started. And then he took the remedies as a separate entity. But people say, well, how do they work? And I said, well, they do work, and they work on this and that and the other. And they go, well, how? And I said, well, actually just take them and see. Because actually they're so subtle. I liken it, and if you can recognize this one, when you have a headache, you take a paracetamol. You always know the time you take the paracetamol and the time you had a headache. You never remember when the headache goes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that's exactly how the remedies do. And it isn't until very often I have a follow-up meeting with the client and I say, how are you feeling? Well, okay. I say, well, this is the remedies that you've had. What do you think? And they go, oh, worked. And it's like a light bulb moment.
Yeah.
And in some instances, because that feeling has been with them for so long, it's like, whoa, it's got.
So how are you getting the word out there now?
Same way, networking.
Yeah.
All online, all online networking, just more of the same. Social media, as much as possible. I've done a radio interview. We've got this, obviously, and just more of the same, really. Keep going. I shall keep banging on at the same time. I shall be going forever.
What's one lesson that you've learned you would want other entrepreneurs to know?
Don't ever try and run a business and fly by the seat of your pants, because it's hairy.
Oh, explain.
Well, I started off with no website, a scratch business, Facebook business page, no business LinkedIn page, no real social media training or expertise or anything. And I did all of that in the first 4 months, plus run the business as well. And it was hairy. And I think if somebody says to you, it's fun to run your own business, yes, it is, but it is exceedingly hard work, and you can't take that away. It's really, really tough.
Get a plan in place.
Yes, and I ran mine without one. So yeah, I'm lucky it hasn't crashed and burned.
No, because everybody needs you, Ros. You keep going.
Yes.
What's your favorite business book?
Strange one here, but one of the people I've met, I have had the pleasure of meeting this man, and I had the honor of reading his book. And that's a guy called Monty Roberts, and he was a horse trainer, horse whisperer. They class him as an American. He trained a lot of the Queen's racehorses, and I read a book written by him called Shy Boy, and I read this probably, I don't know, 15 years ago, and it was about how he trained a horse with no cruelty, total kindness, no whips, no cobbles, no nothing, complete kindness. And he turned the horse away, let the horse loose, and a year later he went to find him, and the horse came to him. And I vowed to this day that whatever you put in, if it's kind, caring, considerate, it will come back to you in some way or other in spades. And this man, as if I could put him as a pedestal, as a saint, he is just amazing. I've seen him 3-4 times, and he's just awesome.
Well, I think like attracts like, Ros, and I think that's who you are. No, you're absolutely right. It is kindness. Putting kindness out there will come back to you in spades, and you have achieved that hugely over this period of time, and I'm sure in your previous career. But anybody that meets you, just they want to know more, because your success stories, some of which are in the chapter, you read those and go, crikey, really? But when you try the remedies, they work. And I'm grateful that I've got to try them, and that I know you, and for all that you've done over this period of time. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. You've been a pleasure to know during lockdown. It's just been amazing. You're just one of the sheer joys that come out of lockdown. So and bless you for all your support. Yes, you. Yes, bless you for all your support. So
thank you so much for being involved, Ros.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching the Shine On You Crazy Daisy podcast. If you've liked what you've seen today, then please make sure that you click the subscribe button to this channel to see more inspiration and motivation as more of these stories keep coming out. And if you want even more, click on the link below this video and go and have a look at the series of books Shine On You Crazy Daisy, and get even more inspiration and motivation for you and your business.